sure if you heard my introduction of you, but I barely scratched the surface with all the amazing things you've done. And we're just so happy that you got some time for us. We got New York, Jersey, Connecticut, some people in Georgia. So you got some people from all around the country here, Mo.
Well, that's awesome. It's just so wonderful to see you because I can click through a lot of your pictures. And when I see you, now I can see you big on the screen.
There we go. There we
And
go.
I see the pictures, and when I see you smiling, I'm just so thrilled and so amazed because you all have been in the thick of it. And I want you to know that I know your hearts are breaking from a lot of people that you know who may have passed or friends of yours. And I just want you to know that you all have been just premier in my mind because you're kind of in the middle of the hurricane eye, so to speak. And I love you, and I'm so sorry. And here is an air hug for all of you. And here's a lot of kisses.
Thank you so much, Mo. Mo, we've been chatting a little bit via email the last couple of days, and one of the things we went back and forth on is you've been through a lot of real estate markets and a lot of shifting economies. You know, what are you seeing now with this, and how does it compare with some of the things you've been through in your days?
Well, it's the worst. And the reason is because they've shut down business. We have real estate agents all over the country who are not allowed to work. And it is just so frustrating to me. I could just scream because you want to provide for your families. We had an absolutely marvelous, oh my gosh, these phones.
Just for the record, Mo, we're not going to ask you for KW Cares donation for that ringing phone. We're just so happy to have you on the call. I see a lot of laughs going on the screens here.
And it's just a totally different kind of shutdown. And the reason it's worse because they won't let you work.
Right.
And oh man, and the longer it goes on, the more difficult it will be for a lot of small businesses to survive. And I know you have a lot in your community that you're worried about. And, just really think outside the box as to how you could help some of those small businesses to survive. You know what, Michael? You cannot think outside the box and be creative if you're experiencing fear.
Right.
Well, who among us hasn't experienced fear?
I have, especially right now, right?
Oh my word, we all have. And what I do when I experience that fear, because you see creativity flourishes in the absence of fear. And what I do is lean into my faith. And there's a verse I memorized as a kid in our holy book, which happens to be the Bible for me. And it says, God has not given you a spirit of fear. He has given you a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind. So every time I get scared, I say that like 20 times. And when I say it over and over in my head, then it gets my head straight and I have a good mindset. And if you have a good mindset, then creativity, ideas will come, and you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I thought of that. I cannot believe it. And so I just encourage you to lean into your faith, whatever it happens to be, because you can get comfort and you can get over being afraid. So there's a lot of fear in this recession, and you're told not to work.
Yeah. especially in New York. We have New York on the line here, Mo, and that state's obviously been hit the hardest. They
Yeah.
technically can work virtually from their home, but they can't go out, nor do we want them going out. So, a lot of people deal with a lot of emotions there. So what tips can you give people from an emotional standpoint? When you look at us right now, we're obviously dealing with the stress of the illness, but we're also dealing with being confined in a quarantine environment as highly sociable people. So, what tips can you give people to deal with some of that stress and that emotional fatigue?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm glad I'm 83 and I don't have to teach school at home. Gosh, oh my word. For all of you in this region who you have your real estate business to do your calls and do your virtual stuff, you've got your kids to teach. I just don't know how you're making it, because I'm having a hard time making it, and it's just me and my husband. But here's what I would advise you to do. Absolutely get on a website. I'm sure you know where the resources are,
Of course.
but get you a really good homeschooling model, because if you get a real structured one, then you're able to get that done in the morning and then begin to work on your real estate business. If you don't have kids, then you have an opportunity right now that you've never had before in your life. And that is, of course, to call your sphere of influence, which I'm sure all of you have been doing. But I want to share with you a personal story. I had surgery 4 weeks ago on my sinuses, and at this stage of recovery, I have to use a whole lot of distilled water. And I never dreamed they would hoard distilled water. They hoarded the toilet paper, but I didn't know that the distilled water would go. So I ran out, and it's really critical for me to have it. So the guy that helps us, he went for a day and a half to every store in the city to find distilled water, and there was none. So his wife put a little thing on Facebook and said, "We have an elderly friend." You know how I love being called elderly. and they ended up with 27 gallons of water on their porch. Then a Keller Williams agent heard about it. She called her sphere of influence, which were in a multitude of the suburb towns as well as the main town. That little sweet agent drove all day one day, and I want you to know I found 103 gallons of water on the porch.
It's amazing what people do for others at times like this, the way they come together, isn't it?
That's right. And I want you to know that we have a home in Austin and a home in Oklahoma City. In each town, I am the best customer of a florist in each town, because I love to send flowers. I'm getting broker, so I probably won't do that as much. But anyway, until now, I sent tons of flowers. And I was their big customer, both in Austin and Oklahoma City, and they admitted to me I was their biggest customer. I want you guys to know they have not even called me to say, "Hey, Mo, how are you?" Not once.
Wow.
In each town, I have a restaurant where I just dump tons of money taking Keller Williams people to dinner. Have either of those restaurants called me? No. And it ticks me off. It really makes me angry. And that's how your people feel if you don't call them. And yesterday I heard a story that I just have to share with you. And I know I'm talking too much, Michael. But
never too much, Mo. We love to hear you.
She's an agent in Orlando, and she had called her sphere of influence, and it was her call number 1. where you say, I'm just worried about you and I want to know how you are. Do you need anything? If you need anything, call me. So a woman immediately turned around and called her and said, I am desperate for somebody to pick up my prescriptions. And she said, well, what's your drugstore address? And then she asked, what's your address? And she discovered she was over an hour away. She was actually in Ocala. And so, because she had a great mindset and it wasn't full of fear, she picked up the phone and found her an Uber driver in Ocala. And she asked the Uber driver how far he was from both the drugstore and the woman, and it was just minutes. So she said, I'll pay you half when you pick it up. I'll pay you the balance when you get it delivered. And within a 15-minute period, that woman had her medication. Now, let me tell you something. That woman loves our Keller Williams agent. And she loves her so much because of what she did for her. That will be a bond that will never, ever break. But let's think about call number 2 and call number 3 and call number 4. Well, let me tell you, I want to encourage you to say, if it's true, hey, we got a listing in our inventory, whether it's yours or another agent's, that is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It would make a fabulous rental home. And do you know of any grandparents who have grandkids that are going to, in a few years or 10 years go to college? Because I want to call them and tell them they ought to buy this house for an investment property.
Right.
I mean, I'm seeing some agents in the company just make hay out of that.
Yeah. And there's always the opportunity, right? We've talked a lot in the last couple of days about, last 2 weeks really, about calling with care. Then as we see it peak and hopefully start coming down a little bit is where you've earned that right to start bringing the real estate back into the conversation. But it all comes with coming from that caring and support first, because when some people have fear, they turn on to helping others. I know that's the way I like to get through fear, is by being available for my people and supporting them.
And that sort of shoves the fear out.
Without a doubt. Now, Mo, you've been through a lot. And I think when people are going through times like this, it's good to hear how other people have dealt with other times and how they've succeeded through them. So has there ever been a time in your life where you've really hit a point of adversity where you had to dig deep and pull yourself to get through that? And what did you learn in that process?
Honey, I have just lived in adversity all my life. So when this hit, I just thought, oh heck, one more adversity. What do? You deal with it. But I can remember in the late 80s when we lost all of our money. We had a small real estate company here that did so well. We had 50 agents, and yet we were recognized in the top 7,000 offices, 7,500 offices of the Century 21 franchise as being the number 3 office out of 7,500 offices in the U.S. and Canada.
It's succeeding at a real high level.
Yeah, for an office that size, I used to kid Gary Keller and tell him all the time, in the early days of Keller Williams, I'd say, darling, my Edmond office is making more money with 50 agents than your little Northwest office is with 150. Here are my financials. Used to just drive him crazy.
There's not a competitive side to you, is there, Mo?
But anyway, we lost everything. Well, not everything. I mean, we didn't file bankruptcy, but I'm telling you, we were close. But my daddy taught me, you don't ever file bankruptcy. You just figure out a way to make it work. And so we went through this, horrible time that people in the oil patch went through. I know a lot of people hate oil companies, but you got to know I love them. So don't say anything bad about my oil companies. I don't own any of them.
Well, they can't say
They
anything bad.
sure do give a lot of scholarships out and do unbelievable things for the community. So anyway, it was really a bad time. I saw families with wealth that had for generations, just fold. It was just a horrible time because this is when oil went down to $6 a barrel, and it killed everything in Oklahoma and Texas and Louisiana and on and on. So I'd learned in Quantum Leap. No, this was before Quantum Leap. I'd learned in something I'd read how when you're really down and man, it's crawling out of a hole that's really, really deep. How you have to have a clear mindset, get rid of the fear, and then you have to you have to picture in your head what it looks like when you've built back. And that is the hardest thing in the world to do when everything around you is negative. But I said it when I didn't even mean it. And then after I said it enough times, I started meaning it, really, in my heart and in my head.
Yep.
It's like if you act enthusiastic, you will be enthusiastic. And everybody's made fun of me for that little statement. But let me tell you, it's true.
I remember that video. I think it was your 75th birthday party down in Austin, where they had a video of the ladies you used to be in business with, where you did that as part of your training.
Yeah, it was my 70th, huh?
Wow, I've been around the company longer than I thought.
I'll be 83 next month, 2 days before Red Day. So I'm ancient. I'm your elder.
Now,
and I play the age card all the time.
We love having you, that's for sure. Lots of things in the chat here, Mo, about thanking you, and so great to hear your voice and so great to have you here. You mentioned Red Day. I don't know if we're openly talking about it yet, but what do you see for Red Day this year? I know Gary's been working on it, and there's been some talk at QWRI.
Well, we are having Red Day. This is the most important year in the history of the company that we have a Red Day, because our communities need it. And what's so interesting, in a lot of communities, including my own, they are saying, will Keller Williams have their Red Day? Because they're used to it and they're accustomed to it. And so, yes, Red Day will be Thursday, May the 14th. But here's what I think is important. You all know that Red Day was founded with a vision that we could make a huge impact on our community in one single day. And did we get the proof that that worked? Well, yeah, you ought to see the number of TV clips we have just from last year's Red Day, newspaper articles. It's just incredible. But Red Day can't be quite the same as it's been in the past. Once again, it's going to require creativity. So we have to keep in mind that we have to figure out a way to keep our people safe. And yet we have to make a big impact. Now, I know Michael, they were putting up a site where everybody could put their Red Day ideas on it. Have they done that yet?
I'm not sure if I've seen that yet. If any of our other leaders on this call have seen that, can you please post something in the chat box? I will keep my eyes open for it and make sure I share it as soon as I see it.
Well, I wrote Ellen this morning and told her that we desperately needed it, but they announced on the growth call that they were doing that. And I know some market centers, it's just really interesting what they're doing. One market center has adopted a small business that they don't want it to go under. And so they're thinking of all these creative ways that they can work from home and get people to support that business. And somehow they're doing it, by the internet. And and you know, you've got to watch your budget so carefully now as the market center, so you're not going to be able to dump a lot of money into your Red Day project, but it needs to be one that will help your community and lift up your spirits. And as I see it, it is the perfect time for you to get everybody involved, because you're all shut up in your houses.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody can make some kind of a contribution to Red Day, whatever it is you decide to do.
Well,
Another market center is doing stuff for their hospitals. Go ahead, Michael.
I think about the power of numbers, Mo, right? And I think if our average market center has 250 agents in it, and the average agent knows 250 people, that's 62,000 contacts right there. Imagine if we can get a $1 donation from everyone in our contact list and donate that $62,000 to a local business, or use that $62,000 to provide food for our hospital workers and nurses on the front line. And when you think about the power of numbers, it can only take $1 from a large number of people to make miracles happen. Now, you multiply that times.
I love what your people are saying on the chat,
Yeah.
like fundraisers for protective equipment. Colette Chang, one of our regional directors, her husband manufactures masks, and a lot of Keller Williams people have ordered some because he put the KW logo on it.
Awesome.
And another one of you said hire local businesses all the same day to feed the hospital workers. I love these ideas. I love your idea of a blood drive.
We had an agent in Morristown, Mo. In the first 7 to 8 days, he raised $40,000 and brought masks in. He got them sourced out of China, brought in masks to one of our biggest hospitals in the area. And I don't know if Jeremy's on the line, but I think it was somewhere in excess of 8,000 or 10,000 masks he was able to provide to the local hospitals.
Just amazing. I think we're going to hear things about our people that will just blow our minds. One of you said we created a GoFundMe for the hospital meals, and can we have the information for ordering those masks?
I will get that from
Paulette
collection.
King has a link that she sends to the market centers.
So Emily will get that. She'll post that to the Facebook video of this. So look at the Facebook page, and we'll post that in the comment box or somewhere's there.
You got so many good things on your own little chat thing here. It's incredible.
I did hear someone mention that they did post a Google form that they were sharing with the market centers. So the MCAs may need to pull that Google form, I believe, is the way they're starting that grassroots list until they have something more formal created.
Well, you got the creativity in your own region to really be doing some fabulous, fabulous things.
We don't want to take up too much of your time. We appreciate every minute you can give us. What's one suggestion or one thought you would like to give to everyone on this call to, knowing that the next couple of weeks will probably be the most challenging. We'll probably see a lot more people be affected, and is just kind of taking hold. Any words of wisdom, advice, thought, or prayer that you want to share with us?
Well, I just think it's really important that you think about this week. There's Ramadan, there's Passover, there's Easter. I probably didn't name them all, but you get the point.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said to me the other day, it was yesterday, they said, Mo, this is just going to be such a hard week on the American people, especially our New York, probably New Jersey area. And I said, yes, you're right. We've been told by everybody it's going to be a tough week. And remember, it was a tough week for Jesus about 2,000 years ago. And look how that turned out.
That's an interesting perspective. That's for sure.
And I think it's so interesting because it's also Passover. And I spoke with a group of Jewish agents about it. And you remember in Exodus, how the death angel passed over the homes that had this blood smeared on the door. This is what they were to do to save their firstborn, I believe it was. And I thought, isn't this interesting that our worst week is kind of like that old ancient story? And I just, I would, encourage you to sit down with your kids and read that story out of your holy book, out of the Torah or out of the Bible. And it also appears in the Quran. So it appears in each of the holy books. And teach your kids about the story and then let them know this is kind of like that. Similar in that we're experiencing a plague of a type. And then the other thing I would say, it's really important for you to send things to each other that will make you laugh.
Yeah.
I've had a couple that I literally sat here and laughed for 5 minutes. And then I got one, I don't know if you're familiar with the Love Country stores that are on the highways all across the United States of America. Well, the couple that own those, she's a good friend of mine, and she sent me this video. And I'm sure almost all of you know the song, Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain. Well, if you can stand to hear the tune, they've put different words to that song. Some of these kids did. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I'm going to send it to Michael, and I'm going to ask him to send it to everybody in his region. Well, because it isn't hysterically funny, but it will make you smile. And every day you've got to send each other the stuff that will just make you have a good belly laugh.
And what was the name of those stores, Mo?
What?
What was the name of the stores?
Well, it's called Corona, meaning the virus, but it's to the tune of Oklahoma. And the performers are really good.
I'm having Emily see if she can find it. I'm having Emily to see if she can find it right now to play it as we wrap up our call. We'll see if we can find it on YouTube or something like that. And if you do see that, send it out. We'll definitely pass it out to everyone in the region.
I'll send it after we quit.
Sounds good. Well, Mo, we can't thank you enough. And, again, during this time, it's so great to see you and hear you and have you here with us. We've had almost, between here and Facebook Live, we've had over 500 people plug into you for the last 30 minutes. So we appreciate you being in our world and blessing our lives. That's for sure. Thank you so much.
Well, I love you all, and you're in my thoughts day and night. And first thing I do in the morning is hit my knees, and you're at the top of the list.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to look for that song and make sure we get out to everybody. I've already gotten requests coming in via text for a copy of that. So thank you for all you've always done for us. Keller Williams would not be what we are without our Mo Anderson. And you've had such an impact on so many lives. And we can't thank you enough for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you. And I'm just so honored that you invited me. It just did my heart so much good to see pictures of all of you, because most of you just look so good. I just wanted to squeeze you with that air hug.
Well, one more air hug, because we need 7 a day, so this will give us 2, right?
This is for you, Michael.
Thank you, Mo.
And then this is for everybody else. And what I love about an air hug is you end up hugging yourself. So you get your hug for the day.
I want to wrap up with one thought, the idea that I got. You said one of the ways we can get through this is think about what we'll look like when this is done. And,
yes.
And I think of Quantum Leap and that letter to self that Gary talks about. And they do it in bold as well. I would encourage all of you to write a letter to yourself that you're going to receive in August or September with a written description of what your life looks like and how you feel and what you're accomplishing. I want you to really visualize how you're going to feel and how you're going to be in September in a positive way, and let that thought and that message carry you through this next couple of months. Mo, thank you so much. I so appreciate you.
We love you. God loves you. Keller Williams loves you, and I really love
Thank you so much, Mo. We love you so much. Have a great one and be safe.
you. Okay.
So long.
Bye.
Corona, every county
There it
smoking with the
is.
strain. Oh, Corona, and the first 12 weeks, they sure look bleak. And the next 12 weeks could be the same. Oh, Corona, every night, my honey lemon die. Every night we sit 3 feet apart and binge pole dart and admire our toilet roll supply. It's making its way across the land, yo ho, so make sure that you're washing your hands. Wash your hands, 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 wash your hands. And when we say, hey, we're only saying you're not benign, oh Corona, oh Corona. That's COVID-19, oh Corona.
Oh.
Thank you, Emily, for finding that. That was a great way to wrap up the call. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, a great rest of your week. And as I've said time and time again, we are all in this together. We will get through this together because we have each other. Have a great week, a great Passover, and a great Easter. So long.
Thank you.